our view, sort of our view from New York, and the embassy, the French Cultural Services in New York, where I work very closely with Fabrice. And,
I was emailing Joel.
and then you'll get a specific example of a local program that is affiliated with us from Maine from descent. So, shows me my notes, but not the slides. So, amazingly, we have been around for 11 years now. And we started pretty simply. It was an initiative. I had recently retired from the Lycée Français de New York, which is a school. They were, and maybe you've had this experience, we've met lots of these people through ACTFL or other, the French teacher would say, oh no, you're cheating. You can't come to my class, you already speak French. So you go study Spanish. Take a language that's not a cheat language. So that was happening to the high school students, and the poor middle school students, of course, had nothing. So we looked around for where we would find a cluster of these Francophone French speakers. I went into a school in Manhattan, the Manhattan International School. That very same year that we were doing this, in 2005, there was actually an organization of network of public schools called the International Network for Public Schools being created that was helping to open these international schools for new immigrants only. The director at the time used to say the only qualification, you had to take a test to get into these schools, and the only thing you had to do was to fail English. You had to be not an English speaker, and then we would take you into our schools. And I went into one of these schools, and I asked the principal if he had any French speakers, and he said, no, we have no French speakers. So I said, oh, all right, I'll go look at another school. I went out in the street, and there were a bunch of African girls chattering away in French, and I said, guess what? You have a lot of French speakers. Yeah, oh. Is this better? You have no. Has everybody been hearing me just because I've been screaming? No. Does it turn up? Do I speak closer? All right. Does this work? So one of the things that has happened to us is just exactly what Joy was experiencing, and it's one of the quirks of the U.S. Census. You're lucky you've got those 2007 figures because they don't even ask about languages anymore. But even in this school census for New York City, you're only allowed to put one language. So, of course, all of these African kids, they speak Wolof, or the Haitians speak Creole, or they speak Fulani. Am I doing better here? Yeah. But they went to school in French in their countries, in Mali and Senegal and the Côte d'Ivoire. They all were very proficient in French. They loved French, and they didn't want to quit it, but it didn't show up on any statistics. So we started our program at the Manhattan International School with a core group of students, and we were very, very fortunate to have two partners. So in terms of managing a program, one of the most critical aspects for us were to have two really invaluable partners. Our first partner was the one we went looking with, and was Fabrice Jaumont at the time, and it has continued to be, and that's the cultural services of the French embassy in the United States and the French in Paris, the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has paid the full salary of our coordinator. We're now on our third coordinator, Mathilde, who's about to go on maternity leave, and we'll have a short replacement. But we have had the full salary of a national coordinator and office space with the French embassy, and that's been fantastic. And the second, that also has meant that we have a partnership with the French-American Cultural Exchange Foundation, which is part of the embassy, but it gives us a 501c3 that allows us to do fundraising. And that was really very critical. So you can't get foundation support if you're not a 501c3. Those two aspects of that partnership were really critical. And the other essential partnership was with the Internationals Network for Public Schools, which then, as soon as we started that program at the Manhattan International School, we had 6 other schools that wanted us. And now you see from that map, we're in 10 different schools, and sometimes the population fluctuates, and we'll be in a school and then they will have fewer students, so fewer French speakers, and we'll move to somewhere else. So that partnership was essential, and that partnership was actually also essential for the French government that wanted an official partner. And in fact, if you can imagine this, the first thing they did from Paris was to call and say, you have a great idea for a program, we'd like to fund it. Would you please get us a visa and an office in the New York City Department of Education so we can send them our person? I said, no. So the office is in the embassy, but that's not the norm. So I hope I can work these. So we've now expanded in New York, but at the same time, we first met Joy, we met Olga Kagan, we met some people from Maine, we've met other people through ACTFL, and we've had requests from Miami, from Boston, from Maine to help support them in their efforts. So the New York teaching program continues. We are in the 10 schools. We have teachers, we work on curriculum, we work on our national website, but that's a kind of a laboratory for us. So we realized very early on we could not teach every French-speaking African immigrant in the United States. That could not be our mission. We could provide information, we could provide support, we could provide curriculum, and actually on our website, which I hope is somewhere in your materials, but if you just look up French Heritage Language Program, you will find our website. Our curriculum, we've made a point of putting a lot of our curriculum materials in English on our website because they're things that are adaptable to many different languages. So questions or our projects on self-portraiture, our different project-based curriculum materials are there. So we continue to have the New York City program to be our main sort of testing lab, educational laboratory. One of the things that happened with that not early on, but we were in the high schools, and then we thought, that's great, let's be also in elementary schools. They have students and could be interested, and we did some not very successful programs in the elementary schools. The kids were at different levels in terms of their French speaking, in terms of their overall needs. It was harder to find teachers, but very quickly we realized that the dual language programs, and New York City is extremely flexible and accommodating in helping parents organize dual language programs. You just need to have a critical mass of parents and find a principal that's willing to do this. And again, Fabrice Jomont has just written a book that's going to come out on how to do dual language. He's also just published his own doctoral thesis, so that book launches next week. Not about dual language programs, about foundations in Africa, but also he started his PhD program 2 years after me, and he finished 2 years ago, and I'm still working. So that's, yes, he's amazing. But so that's been our greatest partnerships for heritage language programs at the elementary school and now also middle school level, is to work within the dual language system, because then you also have funding, you have the support of the public education system. That doesn't mean it's the only model, though, and as I said, New York is kind of a lab, so that works in New York. Some of the challenges that we faced in New York that everybody faces is disparities in fluency within our school population. The first teacher we sent off to a school came back and said, okay, now we need 10 groups. I said, 10 groups? Well, the people who know the subjunctive, the people who know the past imperfect, the people whose vocabulary. I said, wait a minute, we only have 10 students. We're not having 10 groups. So again, our partnership with the Internationals Network for Public Schools was invaluable in developing curriculum. Why? Because I'll never get through my slides, I'll go faster. Their population, their schools are all made up of children who speak 55 different languages. The one thing they have in common is they don't speak English. So it's an intensive English immersion, but with all kinds of different levels and different languages. So they have a project-based curriculum with heterogeneous groups. They do a project on what's it like to arrive in America, and they'll mix the group. So some very proficient or moderately proficient English speakers with some very low proficiency, and they get together. And that's the way we work with our curriculum. You can see we've got who's the average student we have in New York. It's a 16-year-old who immigrated from Western Africa or maybe from Haiti about 2 years ago, lives with a parent or relative who probably will never show up at a parent meeting, who will probably be working long hours, and many of them are living with relatives, not parents. They've been sent from places. And the different languages they speak. We've surveyed quite a lot, but the languages spoken other than English, coming with very little English. I'm rushing through, but I think we've also surveyed them in terms of very similar to what Kim has been talking about, losing their French, what's important to them, how we can help the teachers develop a pedagogy. And now the piece you're probably all wondering about, what about the financial model? So again, my topic is about managing this. I've talked about the curriculum and managing teachers and having the importance of partnerships. And our financial model increasingly moving towards cost sharing with the schools. So some schools hold up to 50% of our teacher costs. Fundraising strategies, again, we're very, very lucky and fortunate that this is also part of the mission of the French government at this time. So they are helping with the costs of our office space and the cost of our coordinator. But we also have other sponsors, some who sponsor an entire program or a small project. So for example, the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, the French Francophone organization, just helped us recently by sponsoring the original song and video that our students put together. Other sponsorship opportunities, and including individual ones, perhaps in places like Maine, they managed to do a gala. We have yet to manage to do a gala in New York, but Maine has done very successful gala organizations. Our institutional partnerships have been important too. When we talk about managing beyond New York, that's something we've gone through quite a lot. At the beginning, we were sort of out there with our banner trying to open programs and promote them and saying, you've got French speakers, you want to do something. And then suddenly everyone was coming to us, and we are a small office, and we said, that's really not we can't be responsible for managing all these individual programs. However, we can be responsible for offering incentives for launching programs, and we do offer a certain amount of financial support and incentives for launching programs. We offer incentives for then the programs to become more self-sufficient. We have all of our curriculum resources. We are a constant resource by phone and meetings and in person for the other programs, including Maine, and just we'll talk about that a little bit. The website that we offer also, we have our curriculum. We also have the curriculum for Maine, which is a little bit different. Your population's a little bit different from the one we serve in New York. So so those are ways that we're able to do this. And you can see over the 10 years, the steady, that blue bar at the end is the steady contribution that we have from France. And some of you may feel a little jealous that France has been generous this way, but you can find sponsors. They're out there. There are people who need German speakers in their businesses. There are people who, there are parents who have different levels of involvement. But we we hope that the other programs, that people who want to open a French heritage language program, our newest one, it will be in Philadelphia this year, they will emulate. We're not dictating terms, but we're also ensuring the quality of the programs and the quality of the pedagogy that's going on. So I think that is the last of my minute. Thank you for your attention. That's hopefully that's a model that will be helpful for you to think about. I don't know if you're right after. If we just click, do we get you?
Are the slides right after?
Is it next, or do we have to go?
Oh,
It's
it
in
is.
another place, okay.
All right.
Disappeared on us. I thought it might be just next.
We need Danielle, because she's got the slide set up. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, it was, she was going to, but it was an issue.
While we're waiting, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me? Actually, she did. So obviously you're getting very nice funding from the French government. And you mentioned that you have to do a 503C.
501c3.
501c to get money. So if a group here wanted to get money from Lithuania, from Germany, from Brazil, in addition to becoming a 501c, what might you advise them to do?
I think Fabrice has been working, actually. Fabrice has been working now with other language programs who have wanted to open dual language programs in the city public schools. And so sometimes that has meant a group of Italian parents speaking with the Italian embassy to then talk with the Board of Education. So,
I'll address some of that as
and
well.
you'll
I
talk
will.
about some of
I'll
that.
talk about some of that.
You know, ours came at the very beginning.
That's you?
501c3
Yes, it is.
the foundation that's located at the embassy. You can also create your own 501c3. You need that vehicle for accepting donations from individual and foundations.
Okay, thank you. Good question. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Jane. And Jason is going to tell us more and about the spread of this program.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Okay? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you. My name is Jacinthe Jacques, and I live in Maine. Yes, louder? Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm the Director of Cultural and Language Programs with the Franco Center, which really means that I coordinate programs that are affiliate with the New York programs. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So what we do, we have various programs, mostly after school and Saturday morning programs at this point. Our goal ultimately is to have bilingual programs in the schools. So Jane talked about the New York context, and I will talk a little bit about the new context in Maine, and how the Maine program got started and is supported. But I just wanted you to see the faces of the people that we serve. Many of these children on your right are of Franco-American descent, people from Canada, French-speaking Canada, Quebec, Ontario, and New Brunswick, who came to central Maine to live, a couple generations ago, and these are their grandchildren who did not learn French, but now want to reacquire that French connection with their grandparents. And now on your left is our new group of people coming from Central Africa and other regions, Djibouti, among others, and they come speaking French. They want to maintain their French. So the history and background of our program in Maine is because of that need to connect the generations. So before our program, the programs we have now, we had a couple Saturday morning programs, one called Le Soleil, the other one was Fun in French. We had French reacquisition classes for adults, and through that and connections with New York, we got a pilot project started. Some of our goals that we had was to convey a deep respect for French as spoken in the New England area, which is different from French that you'll hear from France and other regions, and even from the Quebec French. So we wanted people to be aware of that and respect that, because there was a lot of discrimination towards that language and how it was used in Maine for a long time. And so now we have new goals because of a change and a change in the Francophone faces that we have in Maine. We do have the Franco-Americans who are still there and their grandkids, but now with the new Francophone immigrants coming in, we want to make sure that we embrace that and that we make connections between those French-speaking groups as well. So because of that, our curriculum has evolved to be more inclusive. It was very, very centered for Franco-Americans at the beginning, and now we've made it so that it's more inclusive, more geared towards all French speakers, and open to the French-speaking world, because it's a worldwide language. So, where am I? So these are our partners, and there are different levels of partnerships, of course. The first one, and this I think addresses Kim's question, our first partner, if you will, or the home of the program is the Franco Center, and they are a 501c3, which allows the center to be the fiscal agent of the program, which is crucial. You need a fiscal agent to be able to function, to be able to work. And then the other partners are either in kind, or some of them have financial contributions. The city of Lewiston is among them. The city of Augusta and Portland also, through recreation departments, school departments. So through that, we're able to work with these partners sometimes for the location of the classes. Like for example, the public library will open their doors. They will not contribute financially, but we, through the partnership, they're able to have a different program. They're able to offer something different coming from us, and we benefit because we have use of their space and the visibility as well. So that allows us to reach more French speakers. So some of the partnership challenges that we have. So making sure that partners are getting what they need. And like I said, some of the partners will want, they have programming needs, like the library. Some of the programs, for example, the Franco Center, they have a cultural mission, which they want to provide connections between the French speakers and the greater community. So our program allows the Franco Center to be more connected and to provide that extra connection, cultural connection, and fulfill their mission. So it's important to think about that as you're making partners within the community. Are we making sure that the relationship that we have with them is fulfilling for both our program and for what they're trying to do as well? So also understanding interests and actions of different community partners, and communication is key here. There's always different things. As programs evolved, at the beginning the program was tiny in Lewiston and Auburn, which is in central Maine, also in Augusta. And as it is growing, it's very important to keep the communication between the different branches of the program, but also between the partners, to make sure that as we're growing, everybody is getting their needs met, and that we're still in connection and communication with the New York programs to make sure that we're doing things as we should, and we're promoting ourselves to all of our partners, and making sure that the families that we're reaching, they're getting what they need out of these programs as well. And as we're moving forward, some of these families are asking for more bilingual and dual language programs. How do we then help them move forward with us and to ask for these types of programs, and move away from just the after school and the Saturday mornings? Some of the management challenges, finding and hiring teachers, and I know for a lot of people that can be quite a challenge. So of course, networking is crucial. Oftentimes, through networking, you'll discover that language teachers are looking for a little extra. They're looking for something different. Retired teachers are another option. Teachers Association. And then we talk about hire versus contracted. And oftentimes that will depend on who your fiscal agent is. Some fiscal agents will want you to contract with the people you want to teach these programs, and some will not mind hiring these people. So it will depend. And again, communication is key there. And of course, there's this safety issue where you'll want to make sure that the people who work with children will be fingerprinted in the background checks and all of that. These are things to think about as you're thinking about this type of program. Building a teaching team, of course, is also key. And one of the thing I think that's particular to the main programs, and I don't know if they do this in New York, we have a three-pronged teaching team where one person is in charge of teaching. Then they will have what we call a cultural associate, a person who already speaks French, possibly older person, who will not mind sharing cultural aspects of their own lives within the classroom, and also normally a French student from a local university. So in this way, the students of our programs are getting different levels of French and different accents that they hear, and that I think broadens their view of the language also. And I think it's a pretty important part, and it's been interesting to see how it makes the language a little more accessible for some of the children when they hear a French student from the university who has that bit of an English accent. They realize, okay, it's fine to speak with that accent and to still speak the language. And then there's also team training. And some of the things we've done is we've kind of tagged along with different other things like ACTFL and other methodology programs to make sure that our team is well trained and knows what they're doing. Also, there are special opportunities at times, like TV5 Monde, which is the international French TV, who were able a couple years ago and possibly in the future to come to Maine and do a training showing us some of their support that they have on the website and some of the ways that we can use their material to further our teaching, which was very, very interesting. And also, another thing to keep in mind, who's our target audience and some of the challenges that go with that. So recruiting students, of course, can be a challenge. Within the central Maine area, many grandparents especially are interested in the French language for their grandkids. So that was really our first target audience. And because of that was like the seed to get the program started. The new arriving immigrants, French speakers, are looking forward to their children not losing the language. So that's our next step, if you will. We're just starting to reach them, to reach that group. And so I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that. But keeping students can be a challenge also. So making sure that the curriculum connects, just like Kim said, connects with their American reality, what they live every day. That helps a lot to retain students. So finally, I leave you, oh wait, did I skip one? Yeah, financial challenges, sorry, we can't skip that because there are some financial challenges. So ways for the program to become self-supporting, of course, there are fundraising activities. One of them is a gala that Jane mentioned, which happens in Augusta, Maine, every year, and it's been very successful. And that's really targeting key players, people who are invested in the French language in Maine. So this is reaching out to them and asking them, will you invest in this type of education? And and of course, finding a fiscal agent is the first thing, like I mentioned. Grant writing is very important too, and there's money out there with grants. You just got to make the time to go after that kind of money. Of course, and community action, and making sure that partners who are invested, some of them, like I said, invest in kind, but some of them, like the public schools, it's important to ask them to invest in these types of programs so that there's an equal partnership going on there and something to build on for the future as well. And so I will leave you with this quote: if you have something important to do, never expect people to roll stones out of your way. So it's work to build a program like this. It is work, and most of you, I'm sure, already know, but it works. And I think networking, like we're doing today, I think it gives you leverage to move those stones out of your way. So that's why it's important. Thank you.
So we have nice worksheets for you to work in small groups at your tables for about 15 or 20 minutes. However, in the miracles of modern communication and globalization, they didn't quite arrive at the right moment. So I think something's going to be put up on the whiteboard for you. But a few general comments just to keep in mind. And I think I'm sorry to jump in a minute, but you should all know we were so shocked when we first met someone from Maine at our first ACTFL conference, and we discovered the existence of Franco-Americans, and not just their existence, but a very long history of repression of French that is just remarkable. So those three generations, they didn't just lose their language. They had, in the 1920s, Ku Klux Klan members burning crosses in front of the Franco-American churches, and children were prohibited from speaking French in school if they spoke French at home. If they didn't speak French at home, they could come and learn French, but otherwise. So it was really quite a lot to overcome, and a real effort in that local community. Something else, when we've talked about partners, a big partner that I left out and that I think we maybe don't usually think about, those are the American families who want their children to have another language in their lives in elementary school where they don't exist. So in opening dual language programs, our best partners have been the American families who take that leap and say, I want my child in a dual language program. And we've just gotten some new figures and facts to show that those are the kids who are doing better in standard testing. So if you put your English-speaking only child into a dual language kindergarten and elementary school program, they will do better. They will be more successful. So that's a huge partnership that's, it's diffuse when you have to find them, but it's really been something that's important. And again, hiring teachers, I know that's a problem for everyone, and those are local problems that are sometimes very difficult to work with. So what should we do?
So the model, the way that the model for this conference is that we hear from two presenters, as you just have, who talk about their program. What's it like? What issues are they dealing with? How have they addressed those issues? And this one is focusing on managing a program. As you can see, all the aspects of managing a program. Then we get together in small groups at the table where you are, or feel free to switch to another table and work with another group. And we work together on the questions that the presenters have given us. And you will have about 20 minutes to do that. And I'm sorry I'm cutting it a little short, but I'm trying to catch up. So you'll have about 20 minutes to work in your small group. You won't be able to finish the task, but you'll get a sense of what kinds of things you can look at. And the important thing is that you will then be able to go back to your own communities and look at these issues together. So it doesn't matter if you don't finish, but you get to see the questions that you're going to address. And then we'll come back at 11:10, and we will, so you'll have 20 minutes in your small group. Then we'll call you back, and we'll have 10 minutes for discussion, for you to talk about what did we learn, what was new, what was surprising, what have we decided. So now, because it looks like I must have sent the AU team the wrong handout, just do confession here. What we're going to do is show the worksheet on the screen, and go ahead, Danielle, and we'll put it up, and Jane and Jason, just walk them quickly through the whole thing, and then we'll put the first one up, and when you guys say go to the next one, we will, and you'll have to write on your own papers. But you can still do the work. So you do have a handout, the wrong one, and you can write on that one a worksheet. While they're putting this up, decide if you're okay with where you're sitting, or go sit somewhere else.
Maybe if you're just one or two at a table, you want to.
Okay, and so they'll have 10 minutes until 11:10. She'll make it bigger. So just quickly walk them through it at the mic, and then we'll go on.
Go through all 10 pages then?
Yeah, go through
Okay.
them all just quickly, just to give them a sense of what's
Okay.
there.